Hello everyone. I am here to do a casing video of this card right here. Now the original card came from Kristina Werner, and I will make sure to post a link in the description bar to that video because it is super cute. And with her video, she used smaller stamps. So she was able to get like 3 down each side and then 2 in the middle, or so she had like 8 or 9 windows. But I thought it was super cute and definitely one that anybody could use for any time of the year. So this is the card that we are going to make today. I think it is just super adorable. I love it. It's one of my favorite cards that I did this year. And, well, let's get on the case. So I'll put that right up here so I have a remembrance of what we're using. So for this card, I'm going to be using 2 stamp sets. I'm going to be using Snow Place from Stamp It Up. This came out in 2017's catalog, a holiday catalog, I think, or it might have been in there every day. I don't know. I'm not a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, so I don't know. It did have matching die sets, so I don't know if it's still available or not. But whether or not you have this stamp set or not doesn't matter, because this card could be made with any stamp set. So I'm using this one for some of these elements. And then I'm using an older Hero Arts. And I have looked all over this to try to find the name of this particular stamp set. And I've trimmed some of it, but I do not know the name of this stamp set. If you happen to know the name of it, leave it in the comments below. But again, it doesn't matter which stamp set you use, because you could do this at any time, but I am using it for wishing you a very Merry Christmas and may the love of family and friends warm your heart. I just kind of felt like that was really appropriate for this particular card. So those are the stamp sets that I will be using. And then just an assortment of markers and stamps and all. I have 2 Stampin' Up! Markers, Chocolate Chip and Tranquil Tide. Oh, I love Tranquil Tide. Love it, love it, love it. And then I have some of my Artifly markers that are, Magic Fly. Some of my Magic Fly are markers, which I've done a couple of reviews on. And guys, those were like amazingly popular videos. I have some alcohol markers. I have a Copic marker, and I have an Artifly marker here. So this is Frost Blue, and this is Neutral Gray 0. So basically what you're walking away with is just have a couple of markers that you could use to do the background. This is the Frost Blue, and these are the Neutral Grays. And then Rinkastella, because what is not better with a little bit of shine? I'm using in this case, a punch, this little scallop punch. You could use circles, squares, anything that you have, die cuts, punches, it doesn't matter. I used a punch for this one. And then some Memento ink. I'm using Summer Sky and Black today. And I'm using Stampin' Up's Real Red. So as you can see, I have an assortment, a plethora of supplies. Non-stick scissors and some foam tape. And this is, I've mentioned this before, I got it off of Amazon. It's not Scotch, but it's good. And then a couple of blocks, and I will also be using my Hampton Arts Stamp Perfect stamping positioning tool. I love this thing. You could use a Misty. See, Tim Holtz has a stamping platform out. Stampin' Up! Has the Stamparatus. You can find stamping platforms. I heard a rumor that this one is no longer being made. I don't know. But, at any rate, and as I'm doing this, you will see that you don't have to have one of these. You can do the whole thing using blocks. It will be fine. I did multiples of this card, and so anytime you're doing multiples of a card, it is always easier if you have some sort of positioning tool. It can even just be one of these type of positioning tools that you use with a block, and it will always go down, providing you don't move that. So just some sort of whatever you want. Good eye works too. Alright, so let's get started. The first thing I did is created a template here. And how I did that is I first cut this to a full front. So that means it is at 4.5, no, 4 1/4 by 5.5. The first thing I did was scored it down the middle at 2 1/8. And then I got the 5.5 and I broke it down into thirds. And I did it using this specialty ruler here because the center one has a 0 marking. So I found the center and I put it there, and then I just kind of went even spaces out. So let's see, what did I end up ultimately doing this at? So the first score line looks like it is 1 3/4. The second score line or pencil mark looks like it's at 3 3/4. So if you threw a pencil line at 1 3/4 and a pencil line at 3 3/4 and then a pencil line at 2 1/8, just to kind of break this into equal segments. It does not have to be perfect, okay? But that's how I chose to line it up. And then each time I took and I lined it up here. And what I kind of did is used these bars here to kind of make sure that I was equal spacing from the edge and the line. And here I, just using those lines and these markings to try to find equal spacing. It does not have to be perfect. So now I have this forever and ever, or until I lose it. And then the second thing I did for multiples. Now, if you're not doing multiples, you can just do this once. But I made a second template. But all you're going to want to do is you can either, if you're doing one, just get one card. Or if you're doing multiples, you could do this. And you're just going to lay this down. And with your pencil, you're just going to trace out your circles so that you know, and it's probably hard to see, but I promise you there's circles there, so that you know about what's going to be the exposed area. That's it. Your prep work is done. Now you get the stamp. And this is a full front, so it's 4 1/4 by 5.5. Alright, so what I did here was, in an attempt to kind of keep things clean and together, I got this lined up where that 2 is, held it in place, and now I'm going to take my stamps and line them up. So for this particular card that we did, or that I did, I used the penguin, and it comes with 2 snowmen. I used both snowmen, and I just kind of lined it up according to where I wanted them to fall within the circle. So that's that one. And then the little, the youth one, I kind of put at an angle because, young people and young snowmen, they're just fun. They are just fun. They have fun. So, let me put this out here. So you can see I just kind of lined them up where I wanted them to be. Get my mess out of the way. I always have a mess. Shut the door, and now they're there. So that is that. Now you can leave that paper there, you can move that paper, it doesn't matter. So grab your clean sheet and just kind of keep everything lined up. And for this, it's very simple. I'm just going to do all of my stamping in the Memento black. So I know you're not going to be able to see me doing this off to the side, but another really cool thing about using a stamp positioning tool is that you can re-stamp it and it will always show up at the same place. So I'm just making sure my paper is straight. I know this is going to come off, so I'm putting some scrap paper down to catch it. Okay. Alright, that did not come out too badly. I am happy with that. So I will take a second to, whoops, clean off my stamps. And it is important to clean your stamps every step because, especially if you're doing this with a block, you don't want to get the transfer all over the place. So I'm going to move this for just a second so that I can line him up again. Now this time I'm going to line him up at the top, and he gets to be fine at an angle, a little bit of an angle. And then I'm going to get the larger snowman. And he gets lined up right there with just a little bit of room for a top hat. So this is where having those circles already done is so helpful. There we go. I'm happy with that. So I will simply shut the door, pick them up, and this is why it's helpful to make sure you know where it's marked, because like I picked up the paper because I forgot to put my magnets down to hold it in place. But I know as long as this corner matches up with this 2-inch line, I'm going to be pretty close to on target. And again, I'm going to lay down a sheet because otherwise it's going to come to the middle where I definitely do not want it. Alright, ink them both up in Memento Black. And you only have to ink really the top portions of them because it's not going to be the whole thing. And I just remembered I want the penguin to wear a hat. So I'm going to stamp his head, but I'm going to leave the very, very tip of it unstamped so that he can wear a hat. And you'll see what I'm talking about in just a second. So, get this lined up again. So you see, I didn't do his full head. I didn't do his full head to leave room for the hat. Okay, so get those guys wiped off. Okay, and then we move on to some of the hand stamping. So you see, it just works out so easy when you do it this way. So I have a small block here for the snowflakes. And what I'm going to end up doing with the snowflakes is using the Memento Summer Sky and my template. So you can kind of see how everything is going to be fitting in. Did a very good job. The snowman and the penguin fill it up. So what I'm going to do here is just ink up the snowflakes, get an idea of where I want them to fall within here. And again, if I was using my pencil, so like if you're hand stamping and you use your pencil and you can just draw it out and it doesn't have to be perfect. But now I know exactly where those circles are going to fall. And I can just stamp my snowflakes. And you kind of want to go in different turns and just make sure that you don't go too far into another area. Let's see, I think this little snowflake coming in over here just a little bit. This little snowflake maybe can have a friend right here. And then there we go. See, that fills in the circle just lovely. One more little snowflake, because I could never just leave well enough alone. Okay, so that's the snowflakes. And then next comes the candy cane. And real red. So you've seen how you could just use this. I'm going to put another scrap just to make sure, because I'd hate to ruin the good work we're done. How you could just really use any stamp set that you have here. You could make this into a birthday card. You could have like cupcakes in one window, balloons, happy birthday banners, anything that you can think of, really. For Father's Day, you could have like, oh, wouldn't that be cute? You could have like ties and tools and cars and, I don't know, cake, and just fill up these little holes with anything. Mother's Day, you could have flowers, and I don't want to say cake again because I seem to have said cake for everything. I like cake. Can you tell? But at any rate, you get the message. You could just use this for a whole host of things. So boom. That's what it looks like right now. And when you put the front on it, you can see everything's going to line up. So now we just get to have some fun with these guys and decorate them. So while I've got the real red back out, and I'm going to first start with this Santa hat. I just thought the Santa hat was so cute, especially on this little guy here. It's like, who doesn't want a penguin in a Santa hat? It's just too stinking cute. Okay. I'll put this to the side because I will get into it. You guys have watched enough of my videos. You know I'm a hot mess. I am trying to create a hot messless video. So we're just going to line it up here. I'm not going to stress whether it's a perfect alignment or not. I'm just going to put it down, hope for the best, and I can live with that. I can. So these stamps, anytime you use red, I don't care whose red it is going to stain the stamp. But as long as you clean it, you see as long as you clean it, it'll be fine. It's not going to transfer off of anything else. So don't let it concern you if your stamps start to get stained. That is just the natural process of things. So I had to get my stamping block ready. So this little guy down here, he's going to wear these earmuffs. I just thought they were so cute. And here I'm going to be stamping them up using the Stampin' Right markers. And here I've got the chocolate chip and the Tranquil Tide. And I'm just using the chocolate chip right here on the headband. And the Tranquil Tide for the muffs. Oops, that's the writing thing. I should pay attention to these lines. It lets you know what side's the writing side and what side's the brush. If you use your markers, because you can use this with other markers. I know Tombow does it. The Magic Fly does it. I've done it with them. Just make sure you use it sideways. You don't want to use it like this. You'll ruin the tip of your brush. Just use it sideways. There we go. Give it a little huff to make sure that it's staying moist. And then line up your little cute muffs and put them on. No, I love it. I love it. And actually, I mean, I'm not getting perfect stamping, but I'm not going for perfect stamping. I have just learned that I'm never going to have perfect stamping, and I've given up the ghost of perfect stamping, and I'm a happier person because of it. Alright, and again, using the Stampin' Right marker, the chocolate chip, I'm going to do the tie. And again, I'm using the side of my marker to ink this up. And then lining it up here. And now we have what's called a dapper penguin. Oh, see? He's just too cute. He is dressed up. Okay. I'm just trying laying these over here and hoping I'll remember to put them away. And then I need the top hat. So you see, this whole card can be done on blocks. As long as you trace out your circles on the piece of paper like we did with the center one and I did with the template, you don't have to have a stamping tool to do it. And it is going just as quickly. And a little top hat for Mr. Snowman. And it didn't stamp perfectly. I don't think it's going to matter. There we go. See? Filled it in. That's the cool thing about these clear polymer stamps, is that you can line them up very easily. Okay. So those are done. I'm going to close my Real Red before either me or one of the cats get into it. So now, that is it for the stamping of this bottom layer. Now you just get to pull out your markers and have some fun. So I'm using this orange marker from Magic Fly. And I'm just using it. And I'm going to be using the fine tip portion of it. And that is what I'm going to color all of their noses in. And I'm not doing any shading. You could use Copic markers. You can use coloring pencils. If you have a blender pen and an assortment of inks, you can use a blender pen and your ink pads. You can use jelly roll pens. You can use whatever you have. Crayons, if that's what you have. Watercolors. Oh, could you imagine this with watercolors? Anything that you have, you can use to add color to these things. I had these pens, and this is what I chose. Boom, noses are done. And then for his tie, the polka dots of his tie, I'm going to use the writing end of the Stampin' Up! Tranquil Tide. And just fill in these little dots. So it all ties in together. So, and that's really the trick, is to kind of pick your colors and then find a way to carry the colors into the different scenes, and it will all kind of tie in together. The brim of his hat, I'm just going to use the Tranquil Tide in here to color that in, and that will also mask a little bit of the fact that the tip of his head that I stamped is showing up because Tranquil Tide is a dark color. And then I kind of did the shadowing with a little bit of the Tranquil Tide just to kind of bring it in. And there's your coloring. So now I'm going to use my Wink Stella Clear, give it a good shake, and all the white areas and the snowflakes are going to get some Wink Stella. And it is just amazing the amount of glitter and shine that comes out of this. It's really, I love Wink Stella. There's a lot of different gel sparkle pens, and let's see, who all do I know? I know Spectrum Noir has a sparkle pen. Nuvo does. So again, just use what you have. When I make these videos, I just really want to inspire. When I watch videos, I look for inspiration. I know what can tend to happen is we see these beautiful cards and we want to create that too, and it gets in our head, oh, well, I should get that stamp set, or I should get this, or I should get that. And you know, you will. You will do those things and from time to time, but I don't want it to be something like you feel like in order to create this card, you have to have these supplies. So that's why I always give a list of all the different stuff that I know that's out there, because I just want to inspire. I don't want you guys to ever feel like if you were going to create this, you would have to have these tools. No. Get inspired, then look at what you have, and then come up with your own. And that's why I was like, this doesn't have to be a Christmas card. This can be anything. Just, now you have the idea of using your punches or your die sets or whatever, and sectioning off your cards, and creating mini scenes in each one. Let's see, could you imagine what you can send? I just took a little bit of the red off to the side. Teachers' thank yous, and kids going off to college. I mean, my brain is just going crazy with all the different things that we could possibly do with these cards. Just by a layout. There we go. Almost done here. Alright, so I'm going to see if that kind of gives off any of the sparkle. I don't know if you can see it. But anyway, there's your sparkle. And now I'm going to take an eraser and I'm going to just carefully erase these lines. I probably should have done that before the Wink Stella, but I didn't. But I will do it now, and it's not going to be a problem. Because nothing's ever a problem, right, people? There we go. And this is where having the template helped me, because when I was doing a bunch of cards, I didn't have to do this step because I just make a mess. Okay. Alright, so voila. There's your scene. Now we get to make this. So again, grabbing another sheet, I'm going to line these up, and now this becomes the template that I use to line these up. So once you do these measurements, you only ever have to do them once. And by always, when I was doing the template, by coming in from the side and just pushing the paper in as far as I could, it makes it easy for me, because that's all I have to do. Now I have used this template a couple of times. Because it's a scallop circle, I am kind of eyeballing the scallops to make sure that I'm getting my peaks in about the same place. But if you used a circle, then that wouldn't be an issue. And then because I've used this so many times, like if you have a bad cut into it, It creates another little scallop area, but it will be close enough. So there's 3 more of these, just vaguely lining up. Oh, you can tell my hand is tired. There we go. And this is an older punch. This is one of these, I call them my blessing supplies. Over the years, I've had so many people give me free stuff that they were no longer using. And that's a great way to build it up. Okay. So you see, this one's been used a lot. It's kind of looking a little bit more rounded, but that's okay. It still lines up the circles. And don't throw these away. Do not throw these away. I add them to my stash because these are great for little sentiments. And then just stamp a sentiment and then put another color behind it. So I have quite a stash of sentiment rounds. That would be beautiful. Okay. And then there you go. Isn't that beautiful? I love that. Okay, so now let's deal with this. This to me just looked like, it just needed a little something. When I first lined it up right here, I thought, that's pretty. That is what Kristina Werner had done, but it just seemed a little bit plain, like it was missing something for me. So that's when I came up with doing my stamping. Now, don't do the snowflake stamping first. You need to do your sentiments first, unless you're going to do a sentiment on a different strip and glue it on top, which would be beautiful. Then you could stamp your snowflakes first, but I didn't. So I'm going to get my tangle tied, and this one stamp has wishing you a very Merry Christmas. And now you can cut it apart and do sans surgery if you want to, or if you're using the markers like what I'm doing, you can do a very controlled inking. And again, use the side. Always use the side of your marker. I got a hair. There we go. I got rid of that hair. And just give it a good inking. Come on, there we go. And then a huff to moisten it. And then just line it up where you want it. And stamp. Clean it off very well so it doesn't transfer to your next stamp site. And I always just kind of stamp down here a couple of times to make sure. And it is clean. So now, Merry Christmas. The same thing. Using the side of your markers. This is a good way to make your supplies just go further. So, if you are building up your supplies, like all of us are, you could maybe get inks in one colors and markers in other colors, and then you have your ways of coloring, but you also have ways of adding ink to your stamps. Just make sure, like, you cannot do this with alcohol inks. You can't. But you can do it with your water-based inks. And then, Merry Christmas. Voila. Love it. Frances Martin does the voila. I must have been watching a lot of her videos lately because I'm doing voila a lot. Okay. Next comes the snowflakes. So now I'm back to my Memento Summer Sky. And I am using this snowflake. Is it? Nope, this snowflake from the Hero Arts. And I am just going to randomly stamp. Now you do want it to go off the side sometimes. You want a full stamp sometimes. It just has a more organic feel and look when it does that. And because this is such a light color compared to the Tranquil Tide, you can kind of stamp over it. And it doesn't show through, which I thought was lovely. And you can do the snowflakes in this case because this window here is going to be snowflakes. So everything just ties in. I'm not looking random enough for me, but oh well. It is all good. Let's go in the corner here and off there. Whoops. Off that corner, put on here. So this is the part where I was with my daughter and I was like, I just want to stamp more and I know I'm going to be too much. And my daughter was like, put the stamp down. She did. She was like, put the stamp down. You'll be sorry if you don't. So you put however many snowflakes you want on it. And there you go. There's the front. And now when you add it there, see, I just think that completes it so much. There we go. Alright, now for the foam. And this is where having Teflon scissors work, but you can use any scissors. It's just that you end up fighting your foam a little bit less with it. So you kind of have to pay attention to your margins to the side. So I ended up cutting my foam into thirds. And nope, they were not perfect thirds. They were just thirds. And then just kind of line it up to the side. Because this is going to be where all of your support comes. All of your support's going to come from the foam here. And it took, believe it or not, guys, it took me 3 cards before I learned this next little trick that I'll show you. So let's just keep cutting down the foam into thirds. I might try to speed up the video a little bit so you don't have to sit here and just watch me cut foam, but it doesn't take that long. So there we go. And then the one in the middle is easy peasy. And then just a couple of smaller ones now. Again, just using thirds. By cutting your foam strips into thirds, you get a lot more bang for your supply list. And it just makes it a little bit easier lining things up. See? And then it's easier to turn these because it's just wanting to turn into that scallop. And I don't want it in the scallop. There we go. And I haven't forgotten about these corners. I am just going to deal with them last. And then in between each of these circles, you want just a little piece of foam. So I know that there's a lot, like Doris puts out foam strips, and then Stampin' Up! Has dimensionals and mini dimensionals. So I don't know how any of those products would fit in these spaces, but this is how I did it with the foam tape. Okay, and then cut this into quarters. There we go. And then into the corners we go. Now this card fits into a standard A2 envelope. It is a tight fit. I will be honest with you. It is a super tight fit. So if you're hand delivering it, that's not a problem. But if you're going to put it through the post, you might want to put it in a bigger envelope That'll be up to you. And now I'm just going to remove the backings all the way around the edges. I'm not going to remove the backings here. I did for the first couple of cards and fought the whole thing trying to get it laid down. And it's not really that these need to adhere. They're just offering support. The sides need to adhere. So I leave the paper on the middle and I just, stop arguing with me, paper. I just go around the sides. And it's just one less thing to have to argue with. So do you guys end up arguing with your stamping supplies or your crafting supplies? If you do, comment below. I would love to know that I am not the only one that has to, you know, manhandle, so to speak, my crafting supplies into submission. There we go. Alright, so now that's that. We're just going to make sure that everything is lined up. Now I can kind of give it just a little bit of a bend because this isn't sticky. So I can give it a little bit of a bend to kind of line everything up. So I'm going to line up to the top and to the corners. There we go. And then press it down. And it is on. And then what I did is I just took my large scissors and I just kind of went around the edges. And if I saw something that was poking out at the bottom, I just cut it at an angle. Because it's not going to cut the foam that way. And then you end up with these beautiful clear, not clear, but lined up fronts. You don't end up with anything that seems misaligned. There we go. 2 little snips. And it's done. Alright, and that is the front of the card. So now let's work on the inside of the card. I just have a piece of 8.5 by 11 that I cut at 4 1/4 and I scored at 5.5. And I'm going to pull out my real red again to tie the colors to the inside because you want everything to tie together. And put that down. Beautiful. Whoops. It didn't fall. Success. Put that away. You see what I did? I always do that. Always. That's why I wear black pants. I have about 7 pairs of black pants. And I wear black pants like every day. And like 3 of those pairs of black pants are the exact same pants. Because of work I have to wear black pants. So it works for me. I'm going to pull out the younger snowman. If I can find him, I knew I would use him. I found him. Found him. And I'm going to stamp the inside of the card. And I just thought it would be so cute. So using the Memento Summer Sky, I'm going to ink him up. And just kind of put him a little cockeyed to the side here. And where's my little tiny, there we go. Take the snowflake off and put this hand on, and using the chocolate chip marker, I'm going to color his hand so that he could be waving at them. I just thought that that would be super cute because the whole card is about friendship and family and togetherness, and the stamp set had hands for the snowman. So I used it. There we go. I hope you can see that. Lighting is sometimes an issue. And then again with my orange marker, just to color in the nose. And it's done. Alright, now just take a little bit of the glue and let's adhere this to the card front, and we are in the home stretch. So you can see this would be a very easy project to do multiples of, to do one of. I gave this to one of my friends last night at a dinner party. We do Friendsgiving every year. And I handed out some of the Christmas cards to the guests that came. And the reaction when my friend who received this card opened it was priceless. It was wonderful. So it filled me with quite a bit of joy to see it. And then again with the glue, you have some wiggle room to get everything lined up. And there we go. Just hold that in place for a second. You can put something heavy on it. And there you go. Oh my, guess what I didn't do? Oh, well, I'm not going to worry about it. I forgot that you should take the alcohol markers before you put this front panel on and color the background scenes to give it some color. But I did not do it on this one. But you know what? I think that is just fine. That is just fine. So if you don't have any alcohol markers or coloring pencils, or you just don't want to color the outside or the backgrounds of these guys, you do not have to. So there we go. 2 different cards. 1 process. Both beautiful. Alright guys, well tell me which ones you liked better. Whether you like it better when the backgrounds are colored in or not. I hope that you've enjoyed this video and that you were inspired by it. And like it, leave a comment below. And I hope that you have a blessed day. Bye.